And welcome back everybody to yet another HomeStory Cup Qualifier. This is the Korean qualifier, the second one of the entire tournament, and I am not alone. I'm your host, ZvT, and with me for the first time in months, in a very long time, I am joined by the one, the only, the cat himself. Welcome, Chase.
Hello, it is me. I'm awake from my nap. I slept in, but I'm here live. And it's a pleasure to be here with you and to bring you some high-level StarCraft today.
Oh, mate, it's always high level when it's on the CranKy Ducklings, okay? Even when we cast our diamond tournaments, okay? I'll have you know. But thank you so much for joining me again today. I really appreciate that you found the time to join us here. Again, Yaku usually casts with us, but today Yaku is unavailable. He's unfortunately stuck with assignments, stuck in school.
Assignments indeed. He's been assigned to work on his assignments. And speaking of assignments, like we have been assigned to a very exciting matchup. But here we go, spawning in the top left position. It is the Zerg player. He's gone hatch first. The macro machine from Kingdom Freaks from South Korea. It's Armani.
And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Percival, that is LE, we have the South Korean Terran player himself, currently teamless, but still amazing nonetheless. It is Percival. And mate, it's been a while since we've casted together. It must have been like a Sparkling Tuna Cup a couple of months ago, definitely before DreamHack.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I know your ratings dropped after I was gone, and the viewers dropped as well. I had to give them what they wanted, so I am back, lad. It was a pleasure, and you can't turn down a chance to cast this Armani vs Percival. How often do you get to cast players of this caliber? Like
every week at Sparkling Tuna Cup, man. What are you on about?
Yeah, you got me there.
Nah, you're right. Like I was talking about it before with Yaku. Like it's always a treat to cast some of these players. Some of them are a little bit less active than they used to be. Like Armani rocks up for these big qualifiers, not so much for the weekly tournaments anymore. So it's great to see him, and we'll see what he has to offer here. Again, you know, I feel like the limelight are on a lot of some of these other Zerg players. You know, your Solar, your Dark, your Rogue. I feel like Armani has been kind of looked over for a while.
Yeah, and that's not to mean that Armani is not like a wonderful player, right? He's done the block, he's been around GSL, he's taking games off some truly great players. And we just haven't been seeing him very often, but we're speaking about Armani. Percival as well has taken some wonderful games in GSL against some strong opposition like Bjorn, and it's going to be great to see how these two players kind of shape up and see. I don't want to say they're amateurs because they're both very, very solid. They've been around for a while. It'd just be cool to see how they go up against each other.
Definitely. And again, everyone has a really good chance at qualifying as well. As a reminder, there are 4 qualifying spots in this tournament. The entire bracket won't be played out. You know, again, top 2 from the upper half, top 2 from the lower bracket will make it through. And I just want to remind everyone that in the first qualifier, Prince made it to a qualifying match. He went all the way to the ace match against Bjorn. And if Prince can accomplish that, then again, like it's up for grabs for anyone to make it. Not just for the tournament, but that plane ticket, mate. That plane ticket to Germany.
The plane ticket, like that's what it's all about. But yeah, no, Prince. This is my time to plug. I'm actually on Prince's friends list, or at least used to be. We play teams together.
You're like, yeah, you know, we're on a first name basis. You know, that's no big deal.
Yeah, I don't call him Mr. Prince. I call him Princey son. But yeah, hold the phone light. But we've got a lot of Hellions from Percival, and we've also got our Armory finishing up with some Marauders in the lead.
Yo, let's go. The medevac is going to finish up, and we're going to load up these Marauders and just zoom across the map. Concussive Shell is done, so we have a Hellbat Marauder push coming out from Percival. Quickly checking the vision of Armani. He has, oh my god, the slow Ling. The Ling slips in. Somehow he sees everything here in the main base, and now he has to prepare.
Yeah, indeed. As we see Baneling's being morphed by Armani. There's no Marine. He skipped it. He's gone for this super aggressive build. Hellions morphing into Hellbats now. Viking landing as well. And there's a couple Banelings out. And there's Queens. But are they going to be done in time to help repel this attack?
Oh, we'll see, mate. That's a lot of Queens. 7 to 8 Queens in total. Transfuses are looking pretty good. The Baneling connections were okay. But we have another wave of Banelings coming in as well. The target fire was insane. Immediately, the medevac goes down.
Yeah, really good target fire there by Armani. He's going to push the Terran player back. Unfortunately, they lost the medevac, so that really does aid a lot in the push. And we see Armani didn't really lose too much on his end either. So not great as we look at the worker count reflected there. Percival not looking wonderful, but he didn't lose all his units, so he still has a bit of map presence at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's really important to take note of, is that like this was a pretty committed push, but he didn't overextend. Like, he didn't want to just throw away his army. Because of this, he still has a map presence. He can still morph these Hellbats into Hellions and just try and stem the tide of the creep. Like, there is still value to be had here. He didn't just throw it all away.
Yeah, especially with that Viking, it does allow him to patrol and kind of knock back these overlords and get a little bit of map presence in the skies as well. Not only that, it gives the avenue if he wants to go for drops later on in the game, as it looks like we've got +1 attack on the way in the extra barracks. We have bio follow-up will be happening, a little supply block there, unfortunate for Percival. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It looks like instead of going for the third CC, he's going to be going for a couple extra acts here.
Yeah, exactly. Meanwhile, the Hellbats do get caught in the middle of the map. It looks like this will get cleaned up. As you were correctly pointing out, mate, there is no third CC. Instead of a third CC, 2 more Raxes were thrown down. So it looks like Percival is trying to transition into, I imagine, a 2-base timing, maybe even all in. And we'll see how well this will work out for him. What does he have going for him? He has 2 tanks already. Working on a third. Can this work?
Almost losing that Viking, just barely keeps it safe. He's going back for the Overlord. A little bit greedy, and he might lose the Viking. Yes, he does, but unfortunately, that is gone. But we have the Marines moving across now, and the one good thing that, like, keeping this Hellbat Marauder's force alive for so long is that he was able to patrol and deny the creep in this direction. So if you look at the direction he's pushing in, setting up the tanks, he wants to hit this third base, and Armani is going to have to face these tanks now without Baneling speed.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful positioning here with these tanks. The Marines are pushing on to creep as well. A couple of spores are being thrown down. But right now, Armani has 32 more Lings on the way. He may not have Bane speed, but I mean, he may not even need it.
That's right, as we've got Lings at the center watchtower, but Percival, the action's happening here, and Marines, the stim and the micro capability is just insane. There's Lings coming from behind, gonna try and catch these Marines. He stims back, does catch this tank, but no, it looks like the presence is still here on the map. Like,
yeah, exactly. Some of these Queens are going to be going down. Another tank comes in to reinforce. Percival pushing deep onto creep, but he has to be careful because more Banelings are on the way. And you know what? Baneling speed, it is actually going to finish for this push.
That's right, not only Baneling speed, the upgrades for Zerg getting closer and closer, but now Percival's kind of isolated the third base away as the Queens are kind of less able to help in, but with these surround from behind, it looks like he's going to push back these Marines, get the siege tank, and it looks like Percival's push might be starting to lose some potency.
Oh, it definitely is, but you know, we have another tank on the way. The bulk of these Marines are still alive. The third base is indeed going to go down. I'm so impressed by how much damage he's still been able to do despite the defenses here, despite the Queens. He's not going to keep pushing though. He's going to rotate around and try and deal with this fort.
Yeah, kind of surprised that Percival was able to sneak in there and snipe the third base against Banelings with speed without the tanks. And we see here another great position with that siege tank. He's going to put pressure on the third base here, but now with 1-1 finish light and Bane speed, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to kind of push in and take out this space, especially with that Baneling cap. There's so many Banelings in the field.
I agree. Like, the thing is that Percival's push is all in. It's 100% all in. Like, he doesn't have to cripple. He has to kill right now. And unfortunately, I don't know if that's really going to happen here. He does have another tank joining the fray, and the creep is being receded. The Ling Bane is coming in. Up!
So Ling Bane comes in, the Bane's chasing the Marines. The Liberators coming to help out, and some Marines survive Queens off creep. And now these Libs are going to be quite important in helping him kind of secure this angle, but I don't think he's got the firepower on the Marines to continue to push here, as we see a Ling run into the natural as well, and Percival, it's starting to look quite rough for him.
Yeah, the reinforcements are no longer here. He does throw down the third base on location. That's an ambitious third, let me tell you. We'll see if that ever gets up and running. Meanwhile, the Marines are being cleaned up. The Liberators are doing what they can, but there are just so many goddamn Queens. both Liberators get sniped.
Ah, so many queens indeed as the medevac's forced lift up and return. And oh, if he cancels his third base, Armani, if he even knows it's being built, he sees it, he goes for it. And this could be huge if he gets this. Percival's going to be sent back to the Stone Age.
Oh god, exactly. It's going to be so close. The CC will not finish, forces the cancel here just at the last second. Percival now still stuck on 2 bases. To be fair, if he needs to, he could even lift up the main and try and take the third, or even just take the gold, mate. Just take the gold at this point, and maybe he can keep on going with that. But as time goes on, like, Armani is getting that much more comfortable.
Well, you're not wrong. Just float both your bases to both bases on the map. But the problem is Percival, he can't afford the time here. But look, at retreating the Marines actually, as we see, there's some Banes and Banes morphing in, but this third base, they could be in trouble here as it gets taken out, and a hugely run by. But Percy's got a wall back at home, so great moves here.
Yeah, he does have a wall back at home. The base will go down. Armani did double expand behind this though, so he still has a third, he still has a fourth up and running. The reinforcements almost get caught out in the middle of the map. He was able to again stem the tide a little bit, but Liberators are returning. You know, we have more tanks. Percival is still incredibly all in. But you know what? he's been able to make some magic happen here. But pushing into all these failings there, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, as you see, and Percival, this is a bad spot to be in as Terran when you're under pressure. You know you have to attack, but you don't have the forces to make such a stand. As the Link Bane just swarms in, tanks getting taken out, Links from behind as well. Percival's forced to lift off, and against +2 carapace Link Bane, I think we could be seeing the end here for our Terran player. Still no third base in sight.
Oh, exactly. I do apologize for the latency issues here. It looks like someone may be having some issues. I can confirm that I don't have any dropped frames or anything on my end, but oh god, who is it? Who is it? Oh god.
It's not me, is it?
I can show you the players aren't feeling this, otherwise they will be asking for a pause. Oh boy, as at the same time we do have a bit of a Bane run by here as well. Almost breaks into the natural base. Not quite though. The wall is still indeed a wall. Oh my god, Percival fighting his heart out, trying to survive, but there's only so much he can do.
Yeah, this is the reward of the Zerg to stay in the game for so long. This is superior economy, and GG is cold. Armani takes a very strong game number 1 in this best of 3. Is it a best of 3? Best of 3 series.
GG, well played. I mean, I do appreciate, you know, Percival, he came in with a plan. You know, he was a man with a plan, and he he did attempt to execute it. But unfortunately, like, he started off a bit on the wrong foot. Like, you know, the Hellbat Marauder push did get scouted, and as you pointed out, it didn't really do anything. I think you got like 1, maybe 2 queens, but didn't really get to really impact the economy of Armani with that first push.
Yeah, like don't get us wrong. Queens are amazing, and killing queens is also amazing, but they're cheap, you know, they don't cost lava to spend, and the longer queens are alive, once you hold that initial push, they just build up energy. That energy can be used on creep, can be used on injects, can be used on transfuses, and Armani just kind of settled into the mid game, and unfortunately for Percival, he had no backup plan. He's had to keep pushing, and it just did not work, unfortunately.
Didn't work in the end, but we'll see if it works this time, as his opponent is spawning in the the top left-hand corner of Berlingrad ALE. We have the South Korean Zerg player himself. He is blue, representing Kwangdong Freaks, currently up 1-0 in this best of 3 series. It is Armani.
And spawning in the bottom right position of Berlingrad Ladder Edition, it is the Terran player. Can he bring it back and get a win on this map? Currently teamless, it is Percival.
Oh boy. And yeah, pretty explosive game number 1. I do feel maybe a little bit necessary. You were talking about how Percival, he's been getting some impressive results recently, and he definitely has been, but I do also, when I think of Percival, I do still think of him like as an up-and-coming player in the Korean scene, you know, not quite a Chance, you know, maybe a little bit more established than Chance, but yeah, still kind of working his way up the ranks, you know.
Yeah, definitely, and Percival, he's He does have that experience. He's an up-and-coming player, but he has been around the block. He's had experience at the highest level, and he's a very good Terran player in his own right. Overshadowed by, of course, your top dogs like Cure and Bunny and Beyond, but he has played at that level before. Armani is a bit of an enigma. I'm not sure where he's been as much lately. I think I haven't seen him play as much,
Mhm.
but both players are still they're very capable, and despite maybe not being at their peaks, they're still both very good ones to watch.
Yeah, if you remember, because Yaku brought it up, and I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. In IM Katowice this year, Armani forfeited his spot because of COVID, and he actually gave his spot to Ryung, if you remember. And Ryung had his insane run at Katowice where he popped off and he went further than anyone else thought he would. And then after Katowice, Ryung, or like he had like an interview, and he's like, yeah, like I'm gonna like take Armani out for dinner because because I wouldn't have been able to do any of this if Armani didn't forfeit his spot.
Yeah, I do remember that actually. And I actually read on his Wikipedia page that he gave some of the prize money because he actually replaced him, so he had that opportunity. So, Ryung, a very sweet player, one of the more older players, the veterans of the scene. But unfortunately for Armani, it's he wasn't able to show his ability to see a link coming in and sees a marine light, and there's no Reaper on the map.
Yeah, mate, there's so much happening right now. So a couple of things. One, that's a really awkward placement for a factory, and that could be a little bit of a tell here. Maybe because Percival opened up with a 2 racks, mate, with the 2 racks. Likewise, before any of this was scattered, fun fact, none of this has been scattered yet, Armani went for a Roach Warren.
Roach Warrior indeed, and I don't know much about making roaches that personally, but I know that this is going to be quite an aggressive build, as we see. This is actually kind of perfect for Armani because it's a small map. You know, the rush distance isn't long. The minerals have been mined out, making the units move a little bit close, a little bit faster across the map. And we've had no scout at all by Percival. So I don't want to say it's greedy because it's not a 3cc build, as we see he's pumping out marines, but this is a perfect kind of chance here for Armani to get some damage without it being scouted.
Definitely. If we look at the vision of Percival, he has seen nothing this game because he skipped that Reaper. He was gambling so hard for his own two base push when roaches are about to knock on his front door, and there are no tanks, there's no banshees, there's not even a bunker here. So as you're saying, best case scenario for Armani.
Yeah, and Stim's still a little bit away from being done, as we see this supply depot could come in, a bit of damage, a bit of micro going down. SCVs are pulled. There are a good number of Marines, but losing Marines here will weaken the push. It looks like it could be a 2-on-1 with Hellions, but trading out here, like he's losing quite a 3-source, 8 SCVs so far. He's just droning behind this.
Yeah, we did just notice that WCS Gameheart is not here, but workers have been falling left and right. Ay. Armani taking a lead, even droning up behind this. So not the most committed push. It wasn't all in or anything like that. He just wanted to pressure. Little did he know how little there was to defend.
A little indeed with the Manovac now. I think he's a little bit safer. Ravages, so they do have a lot of firepower and can actually kite Marines. Thankfully, the Marines have Stim. But another medevac on the way, and it looks like we could see some counter pressure coming out here from Percival as link speed started, but there might be a small kind of opportunity here to get some counter damage done if he feels comfortable to move across the map.
Definitely. Unfortunately, a couple of Hellions did go down, especially because an armory is being built, so it looks like a 2-on-1 with a Hellbat push. There is a lot of potential with this, but I worry because we do have plenty of roaches. This was scattered here. Looking at the vision of Armani, he did see both of those Raxes. He was aware of the composition that Percival had available to him, so he's already getting ready for this.
Yeah, and something quite interesting actually. Armani started Zergling speed, then cancelled it. It looks like he might just want to dedicate units into roaches to hold this push. And we see the consequence of this early kind of roach kind of push by Armani. There's not much creep spread, not many queens, but plenty of roaches and ravages to force the Terran back initially.
Exactly, just like that, both Hellbats were sniped. Only Marines remaining here in this push. I mean, to be fair, with these Medevacs, there's plenty of micro potential. They do have Stim as well, so maybe they can trade a little bit efficiently. He is not going to be able to take out... Oh, it does get one Ravager.
He does indeed, as we see again Percival being repelled, but does still control some Marines and can go around snipe Overlords, patrol the edges of the creep, and meanwhile Armani starts his link speed, starts droning, feeling comfortable, and it looks like we are going to be heading towards the mid game.
Yeah, exactly. But again, in a really interesting kind of place here where Armani's, focusing on Roach Ravager for the time being. Percival did actually get a third CC in the midst of this. So again, not as committed as the previous game. He is looking to transition, is looking to macro out of this. Can he though? That is the question, as Armani does have eyes on the CC.
He does indeed. Scats the moment it gets popped down, and we see 2 evolution chambers and drones continuing to be made. Percival trying to shaving off a couple of these lanes, just keeping Zerg occupied. Can also keep tabs on the Zerg force if he's massing extra roaches or if the army's staying the same. Allows him to kind of divert his plan accordingly to what Zerg's doing, as we see. 1-1 on the way, a couple extra barracks, and it looks like we are going to have a bit of Roach Ravager Ling, is it?
Yeah. No Banes whatsoever. That's a lot of Lings in production, by the way. Like, again, Armani, he has hit that juicy 66 drone count, and I don't know if he really intends to drone up any more than this. I do think that he's aware that, like, the tank production was kind of stifled a little bit, and Armani can hit a pretty strong timing here at this third.
And he can indeed, as he comes in, snipes a couple, 1 roach actually, a transfuse saving the second, a drop in the main as well, and Armani's covering it, and that's the how you have to play this style when you don't have the mobility of classical Ling Bane play. You kind of have to just split your army up, just keep tabs on when your opponent moves out, and if you really need, you can gather all your army to hold a push, but until then, you can just split up your army and keep tabs and make sure that your bases are all your bases are protected.
Yeah, exactly. As you were saying, roaches and ravagers, they aren't very mobile, they aren't very flexible, they're a little bit awkward, a little bit stiff, and yeah, they're already waiting here in the main base. These drops haven't really been able to do anything. They got a queen in the middle of the map, which is nice, but again, we haven't seen a single drone for a while now for Armani. Roach speed is done. 1-1 about to finish up here as well.
Yeah, it looks like Percival, if he chooses to, he might have a slight kind of 2-2 timing on his mitts, or if he chooses to push with 1-1. That is quite a few siege tanks 4th base on the way as well. And I feel like Percival, he doesn't really want to have to push here. He wants to hold his defensive kind of position, because Roach Ravager, as we know, does not scale very well into the mid game, or in the late game. We see Armani now. He'll be wanting to take advantage of this over on the army supply.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this has been scattered here in the middle of the map. It looks like a double drop does get caught out though, so Percival is going to be losing a decent amount of these Marines. And here we go. I love it. He is spreading out these tanks. They have to be careful not to bunch up too much, otherwise they are going to go down to those biles.
Yeah, it's not the greatest Marine force, there's enough for a bit of a buffer, but Armani can just bully and move in and buy all the tanks here as SCV's forced to be pulled, but that's just into the grinder. Armani, he might have to back out here, and there's so much Roach Ravager that I like.
Yeah, there's so much Roach Ravager. We have Lings to reinforce as well to dive on top of these tanks. 2 tanks will go down, as well as all of those SCVs. 23 in total have fallen. We do still have a pretty decent tank count, don't get me wrong, but what about those reinforcements?
Yeah, that's just it. This is kind of a reverse of the first game. This time it's Armani on the timer as Percival's upgrade advantage is coming. We just see roaches and lings coming for Armani. And he's going to dive in here. His 5 tank's going to be enough to hold. There's a lot of units. Like, looks like he might have this position be compromised.
Oh yeah, the biles are connecting here with these tanks. Oh, every single tank gets taken down. And it looks like the Marines may be able to clean up these Ravagers, but mate, at what cost?
Yeah, the army supply is still looking quite decent for Percival, but a lot of that's in medevacs, and Marines aren't the greatest against the armored roaches. But it looks like he may just hold for now to lose a lot of Marines. As you see 18 roaches and 6 Ravagers on the way for Armani. It's not stopping here. Like, there's no 2-2, there's no infestation pit. He's going to try and end the game right here, right now.
Yeah, exactly. Armani doesn't intend the game to go on any longer than it has to, and he's going for that second wave. And the problem is that for the second wave, Percival, I'm afraid to look at the units tab, he has a single tank. This is his one and only to hold on to his third.
He does indeed.
Oh, no!
Fortunately, huge pile there, however, taking out the force of Marines, and he's got 2-2 over and 3-3 started immediately, but this is the problem. This is the push right now that needs to be held.
Yeah, exactly. A second tank does come out from the natural base, but more biles do connect with, oh my god, with the medevacs of all things. That one tank is doing a lot of damage, but the boys were pulled earlier. This third CC, it's not gonna mind.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Percival, like he's got like tanks out, he's got libs as well, but they keep being traded out by this Roach Ravager as Armani pushes up the ramp, gets both lib, only just one liberate unfortunately, but I think there's just overwhelming numbers here as we see them reflected in the supply. He's just going to bully the Terran back into the natural.
Yeah, exactly. It's just far too much. Sorry, Percival does have another base, a fourth base up and running. It is a planetary, so his economy is okay, but he just doesn't have the numbers. GG gets called, and Armani will take the series 2-0.
Strong showing, and really good playstyle chosen there by Armani. Not only was met his opponent who skipped the Reaper, but on Berlingrad as well, a smaller map, you know, a little bit hard to attack into, but you can just open up the rocks at that triangle third, get the surface area that helps nullify tank slash, and he takes a very convincing 2-0 victory against Percival.
Yeah, GG, well played. Congratulations to Armani. And if you are a Terran fan, if you are a Percival fan, do not worry because he is still in the tournament. Exclamation mark be in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. It is double eliminations, so these players, they have a second life, a second chance to qualify.
That they do indeed, and second means twice as many as oneth. So second chance. So if you are a fan of Percival, as you said, the light, he is still going to be around, but as we know, you always want to prefer to not have to spend your second life as early as at all. You don't really want to spend it at all, do you? Hopefully we see Armani and Percival, they both move forward. But that's first series of the day done, or first series of the night.
It is, as everyone can see on the bracket here. I'll try to zoom in a little bit closer. There we go. We have already had a couple of results coming in. It looks like Zaun did 2-0 Quanta. So F's in the chat for Quanta. I love him so much. He's one of my favorite Korean Terran players, but he does get knocked out. And a surprising result, Puzzle 2-0 Classic.
Is that the Puzzle from the days of old?
Yes, the one and only.
Oh my gosh, really? Oh wow.
Yeah, Puzzle, he actually came back last year. I believe he joined Team GP, and it was Puzzle along with like two other players, two other old school players. Oh god, what was his name? Not Deer. There was another Protoss player. But yeah, they came back to compete, which is crazy. No one thought that they would. And to tour Classic, that's insane.
That actually is really insane. No, PvP, it's a matchup that historically it's been a bit volatile. Used to be just 4-gate versus 4-gate, but with the introduction of the shield battery, players are able to express themselves, play a bit more defensively and towards their own advantage. So seeing that Puzzle, even with the shield battery kind of changes coming in, allowing you know players to be a bit more expressive, the fact that he was able to not just beat Classic but 2-0 him shows that he's got a couple of tricks up his sleeve, and he's going to be going up against Bunny next.
He will. And that's going to be a spicy series, as it sounds like it is going to be starting soon. Also, I did just look it up, and it was I don't know if you remember him, XCJ and just Hush was the other player that came back.
Hush.
Yeah.
Ooh, man. Yeah. That's a throwback, isn't it?
It is.
Oh.
I'll
It's
always
like he's changed his name to YB, has he?
yeah, YB. Yeah.
YB.
Oh god.
YB.
For a while he was Vivid, and I remember us being very confused because we were casting ESL Open Cup Asia, and we saw Vivid on the bracket, and we're like, what? Vivid? He's playing? Like our Australian Vivid, I mean. And Pig as well. Pig messaged me. He's like, yo, is that Vivid? Is that Vincent? I'm like, oh no, that's actually a Korean one. He's like, oh.
It's just it off racing and beating like
Yeah.
top Koreans. Like, what's happening, man?
It was crazy.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Like, not only having like new faces, but technically they're old faces as well. And some of these guys are people I watched before when I was in Gold League. So that's really cool to see that they've come back. Unfortunately, they're both Protoss players though. But you wouldn't be able to pull this trick with Zerg, I'll tell you.
Regardless, it's great to see Puzzle performing well. We'll see how far he can go. Meanwhile, we have our own series to follow, and there's a reason why I wanted to cover this series specifically. You know, I've got the Cat Master himself with me, you know, Chaser, if you will. And who better to follow than a series that goes into a ZvZ?